to be in the sequel.
Welcome in, weary traveler, to the Disenfranchised podcast. We're that podcast off the road a piece, off to the side. But we're all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. Come in, see what we have to offer. Over 200 episodes so far, and this is one of them. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, and joining me, as always, a man who may or may not be able to move things with his mind. It is Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hi, Stephen. How's it going?
It goes, my friend. It goes. How are you?
I'm good, man. I watched Tourist Trap. I'm good.
You did. We both did. That's a thing we did for this episode.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our other co-host, Brett Wright, he's on vacation. Last we heard, he had to stop because he had a flat on the side of the road, had to walk a few miles to get it switched because he didn't put air in it. So we wish him a very speedy return, and hopefully nothing bad happens to him along the way. This is week 2 of our 5th annual Spooky-thon. We do it every year, and this year is no exception, and we're doing it again. Last week, we talked about those killer clowns from that outer space, a movie that is apparently better than Joker Folie à Deux, according to most critics, from what I hear. Ooh. Apparently a movie so bad, people that hated and loved the last one are not going to find anything to enjoy in it. So
I don't know. I've still seen some fanboys defending it in the comments of reviews.
Oh, well. Okay.
And honestly, I like the kind of people who are stereotypically Joker fans or fanboys of that particular film, and I guess its franchise, don't tend to be the type of people whose taste I trust.
Right.
But I'm gonna have to see it, because what if everybody doesn't get it? That happens all the time, Steven.
I'm okay with not seeing it. I'm one of the guys that did not care for the first movie.
I don't want to see it, though, is the thing. I don't want to see it. Like, I've seen the trailers, and I'm like, the first movie I thought was interesting. I thought it was entertaining, and even though there was nothing really original about it, it was very well made, I thought. It was a lot of nothing dressed up really, really well. That's how I felt about it. I had a good time with it.
I didn't think it was dressed up that well. It's kind of one of those like you were talking about last week with Killer Clowns. Like, it was just an ugly movie, I thought, and I didn't find a lot redeemable in it. Even the Academy Award winning Joaquin Phoenix performance, I did not think. I was kind of like, this is because he didn't win for The Master, right? Like, we all agree this is because he didn't win for The Master.
He didn't win for several roles that he
Walk the Line, Gladiator, like
8mm.
Why would he have been nominated for 8mm?
Because he's in it.
I mean, okay, sure. I mean, what is it? We giving Joaquin Phoenix Meryl Streep status now, or
kinda? I mean, he's really good in it. He's
I
really good.
like him better than I like Meryl Streep. I've not.
Well, there you go.
Joel Schumacher's 8mm.
Yeah, he plays. You always kind of see him as sort of the artsy dude who takes those kind of roles, but in 8mm, he's like a street kid who works at a porn store, and
I mean, that's kind of the role he plays in To Die For as well. Gus Van Sant's To Die For.
I can't believe that just by pushing the mute button on my microphone, I turned it from a 10 to a 2. Which is why I was so quiet there. What was I saying when I got really quiet?
You were talking about
Joaquin Phoenix is really good in 8mm, and everybody should see 8mm because it's really good. Who directs that, I wonder, Steven?
I think it's Joel Schumacher.
I think it's Joel Schumacher. It was like, oh, you didn't like Batman and Robin? I got you, asshole. And then he made 8mm, and you're like, okay, we're sorry. We're actually sorry. Everyone collectively apologizes. Joel Schumacher.
Joel Schumacher is one of those directors. I don't know what his individual style is, but he was like just a perennial journeyman. He made so many weird movies over the course of his career.
Always willing
And
to do something different.
exactly. Like the man went from Batman and Robin to 8mm to Flawless to Tigerland to Bad Company to Phone Booth. Like, what is that? What is
Phone
that
Booth,
trajectory?
written by B-movie director and blaxploitation director great Larry Cohen.
We do love Larry Cohen. We do.
He wrote that movie twice. He wrote it as Phone Booth and as Cellular. They're the same movie, but a couple years apart because phone booths were a thing
Right.
for a couple years and then cell
And
phones.
then they
But it's
weren't.
the same movie, and he
Right.
wrote them both.
I mean, get the paycheck. He also directed future episode of this podcast, The Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, dude.
Based on the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical that I hate.
Well, I know at least 2 people who are fans of the musical who really liked that film. So
okay,
no, I'm not saying your thoughts aren't valid. I'm just saying like
sure,
I don't know if that's if everybody who likes the musical doesn't like it.
I don't like the musical either.
Oh, there you go. There it is.
I don't like Andrew Lloyd Webber.
I don't either.
Yeah.
No.
I'm a Sondheim guy when it comes to musicals and Candor and Ebb. Like that's my lane, and I'll stick with it.
That. Yeah.
But Andrew Lloyd Webber, no, thank you. But yeah, Joel Schumacher, and like varying, like wild swings in quality too. Like he goes from like The Incredible Shrinking Woman, St. Elmo's Fire to The Lost Boys. Like what the fuck?
Mm.
And then, I mean, Flatliners. Was it the Michael Douglas film Falling Down that every libertarian I know loves?
Because they don't get it. Did they watch the end? They didn't watch the end. They stopped it like before the last 10 minutes of the movie where it's like, oh, fuck, I suck. Credits. Like,
right.
That's the whole point of the movie. It's like, it's one of those like American History X or like Fight Club that people like, they take the setup as the point, and it's not. The setup is the thing that you're supposed to be learning from, not getting into.
Yeah. I've been doing a rewatch of Breaking Bad recently, and boy howdy if Walter White hasn't reminded me a lot of the Michael Douglas character from Falling Down.
Yeah, a little bit. So can I tell you, I have a VHS copy of Falling Down, and it's very weird because I found it on the side of the road when I found this TV. You see this CRT right here, this JVC I have?
Yeah.
This was in the original box, never been used, out on the side of the road a couple years ago. I got it, and inside of it there were 2 VHS tapes inside of the box. One was Falling Down, and the other was a copy of like a Nazi propaganda film.
Oh. Like Triumph of the Will?
Maybe. I don't know.
Leni
I hid it.
Riefenstahl's Triumph of the Will?
I hid it because I was afraid to throw it away because I thought somebody would go through my trash and be like, what? So I hid it. I don't remember where. I think it might be right here.
Hold on. Tucker's going to go get his Nazi propaganda.
Still sealed.
Yeah, Triumph of the Will. What did I tell you? Fucking Leni Riefenstahl's Triumph of the Will. That's like
in the box with this.
Oh my god. Oof.
I got this really nice brand new old stock TV.
Mm-hmm.
But at what cost, Steven?
Right.
But at what cost?
Why do you still have a copy of Leni Riefenstahl's Triumph of the Will?
Because I don't know what to do with it. Like I said, I don't want to throw it away. What if somebody finds it in my trash?
I mean, you could pull a George Lucas and smash it with a hammer.
Oh, you're right. I'd say I'd burn it, but I don't like burning plastic.
I mean, you know that film stock will go right up, but...
Oh, yeah, I do. Well, still sealed. Did I tell you still sealed? $12.97 at Kmart there.
Look, Tucker, I'm not thinking you're watching Leni Riefenstahl's Triumph of the Will. To be
still
clear,
sealed. Okay.
I know you well enough to know that.
Listeners, still sealed.
Can vouch, still sealed.
It's only like the second time I've touched this because I'm scared.
I mean, yes, that is a cursed object. Here's what you do if you want to be really safe. Now, Falling Down, open. Triumph of the Will, sealed. Falling Down is currently falling out of the VHS box. But I mean, you smash it with a hammer, then you pull out the film stock and you burn the film stock. That's if you want to be safe.
Okay, this is weird. Look at this. I don't know even
Are
how
you
we got
opening
here,
it
right
now? Are you fucking
No, I'm
opening
not.
it?
But look. So this flap is like this, right?
Uh-huh.
The rest of it completely sealed. That flap is right here.
Oh, you're opening it.
I'm not. I'm just saying somebody could have. Maybe that's how they were accessing it. But why would they want to keep it sealed otherwise? Who does that? I know some people used to like cut this part and then just because they're lazy, like the people who don't take the stickers off their CD, the labels off the CD top.
Yeah, I can't do that.
That bugs me when people do that.
I
You
can't
see
do
a bunch of them just like cut in the middle. I'm like, can I take those off for you?
Yeah, please let me help you.
Oh,
I do not suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder, but
me
moments
neither.
like that, I feel like I potentially could.
So what is this though? Why is this bad? Because I don't know. I'm afraid to look it up because I don't want to put on a watch list.
I mean, no, it's a VHS, but it's a Nazi. It is a Nazi propaganda film from 1934, directed by basically Leni Riefenstahl, a tragically like the first female director of like significance in global cinema, like tragically. But she was like the Fuhrer's like favorite filmmaker. They offered like the Goebbels offered the role of like chief minister of propaganda or whatever to Fritz Lang, and then the day at that night he left Germany and fled to America.
Good for him.
Because apparently Hitler was too dumb to understand that by putting Hitler's own words into the mouth of the villain of his film, Lang was criticizing him. Go figure.
I can't believe it.
That is, of course, the Last Testament of the Last Testament of Dr. Mabuse, I believe is the name of that film, and it is amazing. Watch that one. But no, Leni Riefenstahl, like again, she was, and Triumph of the Will in particular, it is a documentary propaganda film commissioned by Hitler as essentially like his. Like what's so great about the Nazi Party in effect.
Yeah.
So there, I've never seen it, but it's like up there with like, what's the name of the D.W. Griffith film, Birth of a Nation, in like terms of like very problematic yet weirdly influential movies.
Here's what the back says. Terrifying proof of the power of the motion picture for the purposes of propaganda. Triumph of the Will is, how'd you say her name?
Leni Riefenstahl?
Leni Riefenstahl's brilliant record of the Nazi Party Congress held at Nuremberg in 1934. Hey, I've been there. Although banned for many years, this film has been acclaimed as a classic of cinema technique and as a grim reminder of the mad vision of the Nazis. Hour and 20 minute.
I mean,
hour and 20 minute. 1936. Yeah.
A breezy 80 minutes. Oof.
It just feels so heavy. Like,
yeah.
I was just thinking to myself, well, maybe I should watch this, but I was just like holding it like feels so wrong. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you're not, and that's just it. You're not wrong. That movie comes out in 35 and she does like a number of short films. She's essentially like the Nazi filmmaker for years. And then like after the war ends, she doesn't do another movie for like 14 years. And in 1954, she directs the final film that she would direct in her lifetime, which is called Lowlands, Tiefland in the original language. But like, yeah, like it kind of sucks that she is that is kind of her role, because again, by all intents and purposes, she was probably a pretty good filmmaker. She had talent. She just used it for evil and not for good.
Yeah.
And to be clear, Nazism is evil.
Yes.
I want to be very clear. We don't like Nazis.
No.
Never have, never will.
Not a fan.
No. Whether they're led by a man named Adolf or a man named Donald, I don't like Nazis. So
especially don't like the ones that surf.
Right. Or the ones from Illinois. In fact,
don't
I
like those
hate
either.
Illinois Nazis.
They're the worst kind, I feel like.
I am inclined to agree.
If I had to pick one group, one specific sect,
right,
of that party, it would be Ohio, definitely.
I mean, yes. Yeah, I mean, yes.
No.
But that is not why we're here. We fucking 15 minutes on Joel Schumacher and Leni Riefenstahl. What the fuck is this episode gonna be, man?
And I like this movie.
We're punchy as shit right now, is what it is.
Dude, yes.
I'm
enjoying what we're talking about, though. It's very informative and fun.
To say nothing of like the half an hour where we just riffed before we even started recording.
That's true.
Talking about everything from Michael McDonald to, what else were we talking about? I don't know, tons of other shit. We just kind of ran roughshod all over everything. But we are here to talk about in week 2 of Spooky-thon.
Hey, there we are.
There it is. Back to square one.
I know how we got on this. You said something about Joker.
I did.
New Joker movie.
Because
you were like, Killer Clowns is better than Joker. And then, bam, we were off to the races.
Tucker's ADD went, ooh, something I can talk about.
I found a thread. Whoop, let me pull it.
And then went on this insane, free association, just free associated all over this podcast. But we are here in week 2 of Spooky-thon. We are here to talk about 1979's Tourist Trap, directed by David Schmoller and starring Chuck Connors, Shyler Kobe, Jocelyn Jones, John Van Ness, Robert Sherwood, Tanya Roberts, Don Jeffrey Nelson, Keith McDermott, and blink and you miss her, really, Linnea Quigley in this movie as well. What a cast. What a picture, Tucker.
Yeah, dude. Can we talk about why we're covering this film, like schedule-wise? Can we talk about that?
I wasn't going to, but if you feel you must, then by all means.
I just think it's a really cool substitute because we were going to talk about the House of Wax remake, the one with the Sam Winchester and Paris Hilton.
We had originally scheduled our good friend Ariel Powershaw to come in and talk about that. Her schedule is insane because I don't know if you guys know this. She has a book out and has been on every platform plugging and promoting it. And you should absolutely read it. We both have, and we really like it.
I own it.
You do.
Hardback.
You do. Signed. It's right there. I need to buy it. I still have my advanced reader copy. I need to get the signed one. Although that may have just been a pre-order thing, and I may be out of luck. I may be SOL. I may just have to wait until I eventually meet Ari in the flesh.
I didn't pre-order. What it is on the Instagram page of the publisher.
Oh,
they'll post a post, and it'll be like, hey, don't forget to pick up your copy of this book, and we have this many signed ones. So whoever the next this many people are that order it, get a signed one.
Oh,
and that's how I got my signed one. Yeah,
nice. But yeah, Ari's the best. We will absolutely have her back on. I did not want to cover House of Wax without her, and so Tucker said,
I said, well, House of Wax isn't actually a remake of House of Wax at all. In fact, it has nothing to do with House of Wax or the movie that it was a remake of, which is a different title, and I can't think of the name. Oh gosh, damn it! See, I was on a roll, and now I'm gonna have to do stuff.
No, you keep talking. I'll find it.
Oh, it's too late. Except I don't have internet for some reason. Go ahead. Go ahead with your thing.
You must have internet because we're talking. I was gonna say no. Go ahead.
So yes, the House of Wax remake by Dark Castle from 2003, 2004, whenever it was that one was made, has nothing to do with either House of Wax film that came before it. It's actually a remake of this movie. It's a remake of Tourist Trap. And so
Mystery of the Wax Museum is
there you go. The director has just came out and straight up said it, that House of Wax is a remake of Tourist Trap. And if you've seen both of them, you will agree. And now Steven has seen, you've seen both of them now?
No.
Seen the remake? Okay. So when you see the remake, we're going to talk about this movie again. And you'll be like, oh, damn, you were right. That'll be you. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds like me. That does sound exactly like something I would say.
Dude, yeah.
Harumph, harumph, harumph.
Yeah, but that's why we're covering it, because I was like, hey, that's a really good substitution for that.
And I said we could just cover House of Wax, and Tucker said no. Tourist Trap.
Yeah. Because House of Wax is not a remake of House of Wax. It's a remake of Tourist Trap.
I mean, we could have been watching Vincent Price, is all I'm saying.
But instead, we got to watch The Rifleman, starring Chuck Connors. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Chuck Connors, the star of this movie.
Yes.
Famed conservative Chuck Connors.
Oh, let's not talk about that part.
I'm sorry.
Rad he is.
We're skipping the politics. This was supposed to. We talked about this last week during our Killer Clowns from Outer Space with Royal Dano. We talked about the Western to horror pipeline, and Chuck Connors took this role hoping that this would basically lead to him becoming a Karloff-esque figure for the 80s.
I'm so here for it, but it didn't happen.
It did not happen.
I loved him in this movie.
Not happen, but yeah.
I loved him in this movie, and I think that it shows a lot of potential for him to do so much fun stuff in the 80s with being not even just horror villains, but he could fill a lot of role in horror films. He'd be a great Harbinger, dude. Fantastic Harbinger, Chuck Connors.
Like, yeah. He's got this very physically imposing build, and he's got like that square head.
He's
like
6'5", dude.
Right. He looks like the actor that plays Lurch in the original Addams Family.
He kind of does, which I actually was watching today, strangely enough.
You were. He looked like Lurch. I don't know about you, Tucker. My first exposure to Chuck Connors, growing up as a wee lad, for some reason in
Old Yeller
high school. I mean, it probably was Old Yeller, but I didn't clock that was Chuck Connors.
Gotcha.
My dad, I read something about the movie The Dirty Dozen, and my dad was like, I love The Dirty Dozen. We should watch The Dirty Dozen. And Chuck Connors is absolutely in The Dirty Dozen. He plays, I believe the character's name is Clint Posey. If I'm not mistaken, or am I lying?
I hope not. Oh,
I might be. I actually might be. I think I'm thinking of Clint Walker is who I'm thinking of.
He's not in it? Are you sure?
I'm not. I'm looking it up right now is what I'm doing. Dirty Dozen, Donald Sutherland, Clint Walker is exactly who I was thinking of. Damn it, Chuck Connors is not in The Dirty Dozen.
Who we were both thinking of.
Yeah. But yeah, no. But I fucking love The Dirty Dozen. Okay, apparently that's not what I know Chuck Connors from. Apparently what I know Chuck Connors from is from old reruns of The Rifleman.
The Rifleman.
Starring
Chuck Connors.
This guy was kind of ubiquitous on television in the 80s too, like Grizzly Adams, Fantasy Island. Now that I'm looking at his filmography, you know what actually probably was my first exposure to Chuck Connors?
What?
Airplane 2, the sequel.
Probably, yeah.
Where he plays the Sarge. It was probably my first exposure there to Chuck Connors. But but again, like classic Western actor, $6 Million Man. He was in an episode of that. Like, also Soylent Green, another movie I watched in high school.
Yeah,
he is.
Good one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know this, Tucker, and I feel like I should probably be the one to tell you. Soylent Green.
Oh yeah,
it's made out of people.
Really?
People, Tucker.
Interesting.
It's people.
Can I tell you something interesting about Chuck Connors that you might not know, Steven? You
Please.
might not know it. Did you know that he was both a professional basketball player and a professional baseball player before he was an actor?
I looked at his Wikipedia page and I learned that, yes.
He was in both the NBA and the MLB.
That's like
He was
some
also
Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders stuff right there.
there's only 18 he's part of the 18 athletes that have done that exact same thing, that
Like
have been in
played
both
two
of those
professional
leagues.
sports.
In
Nice.
those specific leagues, there are only 18 people who have been in both the NBA and the MLB, and he's one
Well,
of
I
them.
mean, that wasn't Jackson and Sanders, though. They were in MLB and NFL.
Yes, that is true. Um, Also, he was a tank instructor in World War II as well at
Hell
West
yeah.
Point. So he kind of did a lot. He's a big dude.
I mean, yeah. I mean, both physically imposing, but also like a really strong actor.
And
Like
I do
had a
really
very
hate
storied career.
I hate that his politics were shitty, because I always see him in, well, not always, obviously not in this role, but in stuff like Old Yeller and The Rifleman, he plays such a good dad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a great dad. And like, especially in The Rifleman, when he's a single dad,
Mm-hmm.
like raising that little kid, dude, he's
Mm-hmm.
so good with that kid, man. And I love the interactions between him and children in his
Mm-hmm.
Western films. I think he's fantastic.
He
Always
is
gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling, you know?
he's one of those guys who just you get the feeling he probably worked really well with kids. Like he had four
Mhm.
sons of his
Yeah.
own. Like so he and a lot of them ended up seeming to be fairly well adjusted individuals as adults. So I mean, you know, had to have done something right as a father, but
Chuck Connor's
like
good dad.
I hope that's what I want to
Yeah.
believe.
We're
That's
gonna assume.
that's the head canon
That's
anyway.
our speculation, yes.
But no, he absolutely wanted to use this role to like springboard off into becoming like a Karloff esque figure in for the later part of his career. Like he wanted to do horror and play the villain, like play the scary bad guys. And I'm just gonna say it, he's the best part of this movie, and it's not even close.
He's so good in this fucking movie. He's so good.
I will
This movie
little
doesn't deserve him. It does
little
not deserve
spoiler.
him.
I am not going to be as positive on this movie as you are. For a few different reasons, but we'll get into those. But like, I think he is really strong in this movie, and what he is doing, I think, works really. Like, he knows what movie he's in,
Mm-hmm.
and he's making it work.
Yeah, he takes it very seriously. He comes to work on this movie. He does not sleep in. He does not come in late. That boy is there, ready to go in this movie.
I mean, we didn't do a cast overview. Chuck Connors. Oh, yes, we did. I did the fucking cast breakdown.
You did.
What the
Yeah,
fuck
you
am I
sure
talking about?
There's only a couple people in this cast who have really done anything else. The gal that plays Molly, actually, she became a consultant in
Nice.
Hollywood, and she apparently makes a bajillion dollars doing that. And then the lady what plays the gal on the table, the rando gal on the table,
Tina, yeah.
yeah,
Don Jeffrey.
she became a child and baby wrangler
Yeah.
after that. So she's still in Hollywood, still making a bajillion dollars, just working with kids. And like, you look at the photos on her IMDb, and like all the kids that are with her are just like so happy, dude. And I
mean,
love that people who are
she's an
good at that
acting
sort of thing
coach. Like,
find that
yeah.
kind of work, you know? I love it
Look at
when
her additional crew credits on IMDb, and she's
can
got
you
just
just
a
tell me?
list. She's a Little Giants.
Mm-hmm.
She was a dialogue coach on Little Giants. She was an acting coach and dialogue coach on the show Seventh Heaven.
Oh, she worked with Jenna
Portland.
Ortega on that Little Rascals sequel she did in 2014. I did see that. Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
there you go. Yeah. She was in the TV miniseries of The Shining. She was the acting coach for the kid in that movie, the Danny for that one. Baby Wrangler on Meet the Fockers, Baby Wrangler on A Series of Unfortunate Events, future episode of this podcast. Also Baby Wrangler on Big Mama's House 2, acting and dialogue coach on Paul Blart Mall Cop. Baby Wrangler on A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas, Baby Wrangler on What to Expect When You're Expecting. Like she's got some pretty decent credits there.
Dude, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And
There's not, like,
yeah,
nobody in this movie, except for Tanya Roberts, Chuck Connors, and Linnea Quigley, like, they're not anybody that was really in anything after that as an
right.
actor or before that, really. But some of these people have gone on to do other things in Hollywood that are kind of fantastic. They've had really big careers, just not in front of the camera.
Right. I mean,
It's pretty
yeah,
wild.
Tanya Roberts, of course, Bond girl. I'm
Hmm.
trying to. It's the
Charlie's
last Roger.
Angels.
She wasn't. She was the was it the Last Angel, View to a Kill. A future episode of this podcast, Sheena. She was in a future episode of this podcast, Sheena.
Oh, nice.
So we'll cover Tanya Roberts again, and then of course was on that '70s show as Donna's mom.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, another kind of very familiar face. And I will say, where's the hell out of a tube top in this movie?
Yeah, she do.
She sure do though.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
That's all the cast that's really worth talking about, honestly. I not to put anybody down. It's just,
I mean, but that's just it. Like, it's a lot of, I mean, Robin Sherwood did, she did some stuff. She was in
yeah.
Death Wish 2. She was in, Blowout. Fucking love Blowout. That movie is amazing.
Oh yeah, I still need to see that.
You haven't seen Blowout?
I've almost watched it so many times.
I feel
I'm
like
gonna.
you would really dig Blowout,
I
dude.
know because I like De Palma. No, I'm into some De
Yeah,
Palma for sure.
I know. De Palma, the king of the dang ass freaks. Like, that's her last big movie is Death Wish 2.
Yeah.
And then before that, Blowout. Like, she does 4 movies after this.
Mhm.
And then kind of doesn't do a lot more after that. But again, I love, fucking Blowout.
Oh,
dude.
she's here we go. She's a she was born in okay. Oh, okay. She's, I guess, a 4-term city councilman and successful restaurateur
Oh, good for her. Right on.
or something. No, maybe that was her parents. I don't. Man, this is a whole. Okay, yeah. That wow. Her whole biography, like paragraphs. Wow.
Oh man.
Yeah. I don't know what she's doing. Okay. Moved to Paris. Her dad died. She did run his restaurant in Miami. She's done some theater. It looks like she launched the Freckle Fam catalog, a home accessories printed catalog that reached an audience of 26 million women in 2000.
Okay.
In 2010, she did some theater. 2014, documentary. Yeah, I mean, she's been around. She's just doing kind of off the radar shit as far as Hollywood goes. It looks like.
Right. I mean, and John Van Ness, who plays Jerry, seems like just a working actor, just a regular
he's just a guy.
working actor. But I mean, he's some of his credits. He was in The Hitcher, the 1986 film The Hitcher. He's in The Natural, that really great Robert Redford baseball movie.
Yeah. Oh wait, isn't Paul Newman in that though? Or is it Robert Redford?
It's Robert Redford.
Natural. What am I thinking of?
Butch and Sundance? I don't know.
No, I don't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't know what the fuck you're thinking about, dude.
I don't either.
Alligator 2. I mean,
Oh boy.
But all of these are, actors people who've done stuff, even if they're not.
Nobody's Fool.
We know.
That's what I'm thinking of. Nobody's Fool. I don't know how I got those two mixed up. Sorry.
I don't know either, dude. Very different movies.
I miss Paul Newman.
Yeah, I mean, we all do. We all do. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the cast, I mean, it's a tiny, low budget horror. I mean, and this is something worth pointing out. This is the first full moon movie we've discussed on this podcast. We've made it over 200 episodes without Charles Band ever coming up on this podcast.
And we're thankful for that because this is one of the only Charles Band sometimes lucks into making a movie that I like.
Right.
But not very often.
No.
Not very often.
I was perusing his production filmography.
He's
earlier.
like if Roger Corman sucked.
I mean, yeah. He is all the worst characteristics of guys like Roger Corman and Lloyd Kaufman.
And none of the good ones, because those
Right.
guys are a big deal for a reason.
Right. Agreed. But like Band doesn't, I mean, and look, I know there are people who love full moon films, who love like The Puppet Master and Ginger Dead Man and Evil Bong and Demonic Toys and Doll Man. Yeah. Like the man has a ton of franchises under his belt and a lot of failed franchise starters. We could very easily, I was looking at the man's filmography. We could very easily do a Charles Band month if we really hated ourselves. Like we could do it.
If we feel like we need to punish ourselves, we'll do that. But
I don't know that I want to do that, but we could absolutely do that. Like if we need like to do penance for something, then sure, maybe. But until then, no. There have been, how many Evil Bong movies do you think there have been, Tucker?
I know there's at least 3 plus the crossover. I'm gonna say 6,
8.
That was close.
With the crossover, 9.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. Then we've got like all the Puppet Masters. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, and he has crafted an empire for good or ill. He's crafted an empire.
Wait, did they do Uncle Sam? They do Uncle Sam?
I don't think that was
Charles Band thing. Larry Cohen directed that, and it's really good. It's really, really good. It's so silly, but also the commentary is very serious. But it's one of the silliest movies I've ever seen. I love Larry Cohen so much. R.I.P. for sure.
You do. You love Larry Cohen.
Let's see. Cue the Winged Serpent, The Stuff, God Told Me To. You just can't go wrong with Larry Cohen. He did the best episode of Masters of Horror, too.
Oh, yeah. You have said that. Yes. That one is not a full moon release. That is Apex and Solomon International.
Yeah.
And so
who also did the Jack Frost movies, I believe.
Oh, there you go.
Not the Michael Keaton ones, but the other
ones. I think there was only one of the Michael Keaton ones. Do you know who they originally cast in that role before he dropped out at the last minute? Which is why the snowman doesn't look a thing like Michael Keaton and looks exactly like George Clooney.
Same thing.
No, very different. Yes.
Must See TV. ER?
I mean, ER.
Are we talking about Return of the Killer Tomatoes, George Clooney?
Roseanne's Own, George Clooney.
Are we talking about Return to Horror Highs, George Clooney?
The same.
Huh. From Dusk Till Dawn's George Clooney?
Yeah. Was it, what's his
Out of
Casamigos' Own, George Clooney? Yeah.
Yeah. I like young George Clooney. He was hungry. He was good, too.
I mean, the Ocean movies happened, and he just kind of like, he bought and sold that tequila brand and realized he didn't fucking ever have to work again. Is really what happened. Yeah. So he just, when he does a movie now, it's because a friend of his is doing it, or because he just wants to.
I gotta tell you, like, he is so funny in Return of the Killer Tomatoes, and he's not even the funniest character. I gotta say, that's one of the funniest movies that I've ever seen in my life. Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Maybe
feature episode of Straight Up.
Yeah, probably not a Spooky-thon one though. That's for sure.
I also really think George Clooney underrated as a director. We were talking about directors earlier.
Confessions of Dangerous Mind is fantastic.
Good Night and Good Luck.
Good. Yes, that one's good too.
I fucking stan Ides of March. Like, people do not like that movie. I really like it. It's him and Ryan Gosling
and
fucking Philip Seymour Hoffman, Evan Rachel Wood, Jeffrey Wright, Marissa Tomei, Paul Giamatti. Like, fucking stacked.
I like that cast. Yeah,
it's an unbelievable, and it's based on a play by Beau Willimon, who wrote House of Cards, and like he was like really hot shit there for like 2 years. So based on that, Clooney buys this movie, rewrites it. Like, it's not Beau Willimon's script at all. But I was really trying to direct that in the Indianapolis community theater scene for a while. The play it was based on, Farragut North. and no one wanted to touch it. Like I knew exactly how I wanted to stage it. Like I had ideas, and no one wanted it. So
Can I be in it when you do it, Steven?
I legitimately had an actress on standby. Like she was like, I gave her the script. I was like, I want to do this sometime. I would love for you to do this with me. And she goes, you let me know when you do it. Whenever you do it, just call me. I will be there. I don't care where I am in the world. I will find you.
Now you've got two. You got
there
two
you go.
cast members now, Steven.
Except I've never seen you act outside of something directed by our friend JP Lex. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, as much as I dislike theater acting, I am a far better theater actor than I am a film actor.
I mean, I love theater acting because I'm so much better at it. When you have to emote to the back row, man. I get it.
It's the culture, you know.
I get it.
It's not for me. Outside of high school, because like that's where you find all the insecure gals. And so I'm just saying, I was a bad
Tucker,
dude back in the day.
All due respect. Ooh.
Yeah, I say that, and it was true. I was definitely a slut in high school, but I was never like
I am not now, nor have I ever been a slut.
I was never disrespectful or like super macho or masochistic, or not masochistic. What am I thinking of?
Masculine?
No. Well, yeah, but I wasn't. What is it when you're being an asshole, but you're specifically being an asshole because you're a man?
Chauvinism?
Yeah, but there's another word people use for it now. Toxic
Misogyny?
masculinity. There you go. It wasn't like that. I wasn't like toxic masculinity. It's just I looked real good, and I was really charming, and I knew where the girls were. That's all it was. So.
I also knew where the girls were. They just had no desire to have anything to do with me. So
yeah, well.
Because I was short, fat, and like nerdy things. So
I like nerdy things too.
But you were thin and good looking. Fuck you.
And very charming, Steven. Very charming.
Look, I was charming too. It got me nowhere.
Oh, boo. Whatever, Steven. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm saying.
You're right. Respect the women. Respect the women.
We absolutely must respect the women. This is the first film of David Schmoller, the director of this film. He would go on to become a Full Moon mainstay. Like, he directs a ton of movies for Full Moon. Mm-hmm. He directs the original Puppet Master. He does the Klaus Kinski film Crawl Space.
Yes.
And then directs a movie about it later. Yeah. Like Netherworld, The Secret Kingdom, The Seduction, Possessed, a 2012 film called Little Monsters. And then he does the Puppet Master Blitzkrieg Massacre, comes back to the Puppet Masters franchise later. Like, is just kind of one of those guys who like kind of hangs in there with Charles Benton. Netherworld does some episodes of TV, Renegade, Silk Stockings, like those.
Renegade with Lorenzo Lamas.
Yes,
on the USA Network.
On the US, and Silk Stockings also on the USA Network. Yes. Silk Stockings was one of those shows that always just felt very illicit to me as a child, and I bet I would go back and watch it now, and it would just be aggressively tame.
Well, that's because it's not for adults. It's for the kids who are sneaking to watch it.
Right.
So it can't be that.
That show had 8 fucking seasons. Silk Stockings, a show that no one remembers, but was on the air for 8 fucking years.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild.
There's something to say for titillation, I suppose.
And you know who's in 54 fucking episodes of that show as the announcer? Your boy Fred Melamed.
Oh, word. That makes me think of David Duchovny in The Red Shoe Diaries.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I don't know if you remember that.
I mean, I never watched The Red Shoe Diaries, but I know he was in it. Him and Matt LeBlanc both got their start on The Red Shoe Diaries.
Dude. Yes, dude. Zalman King's The Red Shoe Diaries.
Yes.
On HBO.
And of course, when we say we love Fred Melamed, what we mean is that we love Cy Abelman.
Now you know why they don't. You know why they don't make any of those shows anymore. Those erotic shows on pay cable.
Why? I mean, why do you think they don't make those shows anymore, Tucker?
Because we don't need them. No one needs them.
Mm.
Everyone, men, women, and children, have unrestricted access to all the porn they'd ever want. So why
That's
would you
true.
need something like that?
There is a cottage industry of pornography on the internet, I'm told.
Mm-hmm. I tell you about it. I've seen some of it, Steven.
Yeah?
Pretty wild,
Okay.
dude.
Right
Pretty
on.
wild. People just loving each other, dude.
Is it love?
Sometimes.
Okay. Fair enough.
You see, Steven, when a porn star loves another porn star very much,
when two porn stars are in desperate need of money,
they hit record.
Oh, but yeah, this is David Schmoller's first film of many, but he sticks in, like, he's not an auteur, like he's not someone that you're going to be but fuck, dude.
He's a guy who can get things done. He can work with effects well.
With Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Hey.
He was mentored in film
important.
by Luis Buñuel. Like, these are big fucking names in film. So his pedigree is solid. I don't know that necessarily comes across in this film entirely.
He's definitely, I think, a competent director. Like, he knows what he's doing.
He is competent. Like, I will give him that. This film is competently made. I don't know. My major issues with this movie are with the writing, if I'm going to be really honest. Like, I don't have a problem with the directing. My major issues with the film are with the writing. Particularly, my biggest gripe with this film, Tucker, is the telekinesis. I don't like it. I don't think the movie needs it.
It doesn't need it, for sure. You're right. And there's probably the original script didn't have it in it. You know that.
I do know that. Charles Band, in fact, is the one that insisted it be included.
Oh, well, of course he did. It sounds like a very on band of him.
Oh, God. Fuck.
Thank you.
Oh, that was awful.
Yes.
That was absolutely terrible. How dare you? I'm offended. You have offended my delicate sensibilities, sir. But no, I mean, like, and so I think that's partly why it feels so out of place to me, is because this is a slasher film the year after Halloween, but it's not like so many of the others that would come after Halloween. It's not like the cookie cutter trying to copy the formula. It's very much trying to do its own thing. It has its own story and its own agenda, and I like that about it. It's almost as if, and according to Wikipedia, they tried to get Carpenter to direct this. Like, Schmoller wanted Carpenter to direct, and Carpenter was probably just thinking, I just fucking did this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing, fuck you. No. Like, because that's a very John Carpenter attitude.
What did Carpenter do between Halloween and The Thing? Wasn't there something between those two?
It's a little movie called Escape from New York.
Okay. All right. That tracks. I couldn't remember because I know that
also
Halloween was 78. Okay, I know Halloween was 78 and The Thing was 72. So I was like, I feel like there's some movies in between
82.
there, but I couldn't think of what they would have been.
Yes. So he does, Halloween is 78. He does the TV movie Somebody's Watching Me later in 78. The TV movie Elvis in 79.
That's good too, with Kurt Russell. Yeah.
Right. And then he does The Fog in 80 and Escape from New York in 81.
Which I didn't care for The Fog. Does he Assault from Precinct 13 is before Halloween, right?
Yes, that's his two first movies are Dark Star in 74, written by Dan O'Bannon, and you can kind of tell because it's got the alien shit all over it. And then, like, very proto-alien in a lot of ways. And then and then Assault on Precinct 13 in 76. Then he does Halloween in 78.
I cannot watch Assault on Precinct 13 anymore because I got kids, man.
That opening scene is
Very
really upsetting.
upsetting.
I don't have kids, and that scene is really upsetting. Like, that's how
I used
well
to
filmed that is.
I used to be able to be like, "Oh, exploitation, ah, wah," and then I had children, and I was like, "Nope, that's not
Yeah.
for me anymore."
No, man. It is hard. It is fucking brutal. It might be the single most brutal scene in Carpenter's entire filmography. Like, it is fucking brutal.
Him and Wes Craven were swinging for the fences in their early careers, weren't they?
Absolutely, they were. Yeah, Wes Craven, the guy who just goes, I don't know, let me remake The Virgin Spring as a horror movie. That sounds like fun. The fuck are you doing, dude? Like, that
The
movie also
revenge part is
very
fun.
upsetting.
The revenge part is fun. That's what I'm saying. It's the rape revenge movies. Like, you got to take the good with the bad because the good is always so satisfying after the bad.
Speaking of, our friend Ariel Power Schaub for the Pod and the Pendulum Patreon is doing a series on the I think it's the I Spit on Your Grave. Yeah,
yes.
the I Spit on Your Grave films.
Which I wasn't aware that there were so many sequels to the remake.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the remake is kind of its own thing.
Franchise. It's a fucking franchise, dude.
It is. It's a rather involved one as well, I will say. But yeah.
Man, I remember when I saw that movie, I was the original. That was the most fucked up thing I'd seen at that time.
Yeah.
And then I saw Straw Dogs, and I was like, oh, it's not gory, so it won't be as fucked up. Turns out it's more fucked up.
Yeah, Straw Dogs a movie I cannot bring myself. I'm like, I should really engage with Peckinpah, and the thing that stops me from ever getting into any Peckinpah is fucking Straw Dogs. I can't fucking do it.
It's such a good movie, but boy, is it fucked up. And like, you're not sure what the movie is implying sometimes, like whose side the movie is on sometimes. Right. And you're like, this makes me really uncomfortable.
And I mean, that apparently that was the kind of director Peckinpah was.
Yeah, dude.
And like, it's like, I've heard the Wild Bunch is kind of a fucking masterpiece, and I really want to watch it. But I'm like, if I'm going to get into Peckinpah, I'm going to get into Peckinpah, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't want to know if I want to do that to myself.
I can't believe they remade Straw Dogs
with James Marsden.
Yeah, and it seemed like it almost seemed like it felt, I didn't see it, but like from just the way it looks, like I've seen trailers and photos and stuff, the way it looks a lot like that Amityville Horror remake.
I mean, I would not be surprised. It's Marsden, it's Kate Bosworth, and it's Alexander Skarsgård.
I can't believe. I don't think you
and
make
America's
a movie
favorite,
like that.
America's favorite performer and Twitter personality, James Woods.
That's another one I'm real disappointed in because I love James Woods. Like, even as
an amazing actor and a terrible person.
Well, see, that's the thing. I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he seems like a very complicated person because in all the behind the scenes stuff I've seen with him, he seems like the warmest, kindest, like most approachable person. And then you hear about his political view, and even like people who have worked with him, they're like, yeah, he's literally the nicest dude ever.
Mm-hmm.
We love him. We hate his politics.
Someone just needs to take his Twitter account away.
Yes, it's so disappointing, and he's so good in everything too. Show me a bad James Woods performance.
He's in my favorite movie from the year I was born. Like, I fucking love James Woods.
Yeah, dude.
Do you know my favorite movie from the year I was born?
I'm waiting for you to tell me, dude. You were born in 1983.
I was born in 1983. It's a little film by David Cronenberg called motherfucking Videodrome.
Oh yeah, you do like that movie.
God, that movie rules. I own it on Criterion 4K. It's lovely. I love it.
James Woods, good as hell too.
He is so good in that movie. And like, he is one, I want to dig into more of his filmography, but like when he works with John Carpenter on vampires, Carpenter lets him ad-lib like crazy just because Carpenter, very progressive, always has been. James Woods very much not. And by letting him ad-lib, Carpenter's like, no, I just wanted people to know like what he's really like. Like, that's just how he talks.
Wow.
Like all the shit about the Chocolata Estrada and all that, like that's just James Woods riffing. Carpenter's
James
like,
Woodsing.
Right. He's like, I didn't fucking write that. I don't like, that's just what he's like.
In the script, it says, just be James Woods and talk about this subject.
Mm-hmm.
Go. That's what the script says. James
Well,
Wood
no,
talks about this for a couple paragraphs.
he had shit he was supposed to talk about. He just would go off and riff, and Carpenter's like, yeah, okay, that's fine, do it. But it made the movie very unpleasant for me. The movie Vampires.
I love him as a voice actor. I thought he was really great in Clerks the Animated Series.
He's very good in Clerks the Animated Series. He is. I really love him in Family Guy and The Simpsons.
Yes. Yep.
And then he also he loved playing Hades in Disney's Hercules so much.
Oh yeah, he was great.
That anytime Hercules appears in literally anything, be it an episode of a television show or like a Kingdom Hearts video game, he's like, call me. He's like, I will do it. Just call me. And like his last 3 credits are Hades, in Kingdom Hearts 3, Disney Speedstorm, both of which are video games, and the Once Upon a Studio short that they did for the celebration of the 100th anniversary of Disney animation.
Nice.
But yeah, he plays Hades in all of those.
If he could just fix those politics, we'd have just a kind of a perfect man, you know?
I mean,
fix those politics, man.
And I mean, he do keep showing up in stuff, though, man. He do keep showing up in stuff.
He's not in this movie, though.
He's not. Yeah, we would have probably mentioned it by now.
He was one of the mannequins, probably uncredited, right?
Right. Well, and that's just so there's a lot. This movie has there's a lot of. You know what we should probably do before I get into this
plot?
Shit? We should probably talk the plot of this movie. I have the coin of justice here at the ready, and while I prepare it and you put 1 minute on the clock, I will explain the plot in 60. It's the part of the show where we, at the behest of the coin of justice, recount the plot of the film we're discussing, in this case 1979's Tourist Trap, in 60 seconds or less. Tucker's got a minute on the clock. I've got the coin of justice at the ready. Tucker, call it.
Heads.
And it is heads, you bastard.
Yay. Tell me when you start talking, Steven, and I'll hit the button.
This guy forgets to fill up his tire, and so he goes to get air put in the tire, and then he ends up getting attacked by puppets and then impaled by a bunch of shit flying out of a cabinet. His friends go looking for him, find the tire way far away from where he dropped it, but then end up skinny dipping in like a river, and it's owned by Chuck Connors, who's holding a rifle this entire fucking movie. Coincidence? I think not. But so he invites them all in, tells them not to go outside. So they, of course, then immediately go outside. And when they do, they realize, they all start dying. This guy's brother apparently was really good at making mannequins, and that was what the tourist trap was. They start dying one by one and getting replaced by mannequins. They think it's his brother. Turns out it's really him with a split personality. Find out at the end his brother and wife had been cheating on each other. He's got telekinesis. He makes the puppets dance. Everyone dies except the blonde girl. She ends up going fucking crazy, murders him with an axe while he's dancing with his wife's mannequin, piles all the mannequins of all her friends in the car, and drives off Sally Hardesty style into the great unknown.
Well done, Steven. I'd like to mention that when he asks them in and asks them if they want a beer, the beer that they are drinking is Hamm's, which is
one of your favorites.
My favorite shit beer of all time. It's fantastic. And
as someone currently living in the city of Chicago, I'm an old style man myself, but respect.
That's understandable. Well, you know, closer you get to Canada, you become a VO person, I feel like. But the reason I mentioned that was because I like Hamm's. I like those tall boys, and I can't get them here. So they stopped selling them. They have them in New York, and they have them in Massachusetts, but not in Vermont, not in New Hampshire, not in Maine.
How far of a drive would it be for you to get to Massachusetts?
I'd have to go to Boston to get it. Boston's the closest, so it would be about an hour 45, 2 hours.
I mean, do a day trip, stock up, stop by the Sam Adams Brewery, make a day of it.
I always get a couple I always get a couple cases when I'm in Indy for Christmas.
Yeah.
Take them back with me. I
I
remember
used
the reason I started drinking hams is because back in like probably 2017, Kroger was selling 30 packs of them for $10.
Oh, nice.
A real good deal for a real good beer.
There you go.
Like almost an insulting price for that tier of shit beer, honestly. But I'll take it. Less money, more beer. No problems.
I mean, yeah, like it. I used to honestly, I did the same thing when I um still living in Indy, and I was making frequent trips to Chicago. I would just grab like several tall boy packs of old style and just bring them down with me. Like, yeah, fucking love them, dude. Yeah.
Right now I'm drinking a Moosehead.
Eh?
A Moosehead, eh?
Eh?
Having a Moosehead. I didn't find a mouse in the bottle. But I'm hoping to, you hoser.
You gotta give you a free beer. I was drinking a beer called Pencil Shavings and Broken Hearts, which was from a local brewery called Sketchbook, and it's a Malort barrel-aged Pilsner, and fuck was it delicious. But I have consumed my glass of that. I have probably enough for one more glass in the fridge, and I'm going to save that.
Nice.
I'm going to save that for probably tomorrow when I get off work. So there you go.
Fucking A. Fucking A.
Fucking A.
You remember the the song, right? Fucking A. Yeah, I'm gonna bleep it.
Oh yeah, you are. I mean, what it is the forbidden movie, so of course it makes sense that we should always bleep it. So
truly, it has affected how I say fucking A from now on.
I believe it. I buy it.
Yeah.
The making of history of this movie is inconsistent. Like there are some things that people get fairly right consistently, other things that change depending on who's telling the story. Like, for example, the name of the actor who plays Davy in this movie, I used air quotes because that's something that really comes across in an auditory medium. The actor that plays Davy in this movie was credited as Shiler Kobe. Shiler Kobe does not exist. Shiler Kobe was a stage name given to Chuck Connors because they didn't want people to know the twist that he was the villain, even though, come on.
So that guy exists just as much as the Coen brothers editor exists.
Right. Or
the Oscar-winning person who does not exist.
Right. Also, another Oscar-winning person that does not exist, the screenwriter for the other screenwriter for adaptation, Charlie Kaufman's brother, Donald. Donald Kaufman.
Donald.
Yes,
I love Donald. Poor Donald.
Right.
I love that movie so much.
It's a good movie. Speaking of Nicolas Cage,
and one of his more subtle performances too. Most of it.
Right. Like, yeah, he goes goofy, but it's at the part where it's supposed to be goofy.
And I like everyone else, loves when Nicolas Cage takes it up to 11, but it's also nice to see a good subdued performance from him because that is so much more difficult for him, but he still nails it.
He does because he is a good actor.
He is a good actor.
But he is he was right to be Oscar nominated for that movie, I think, for adaptation. I think it's okay that he didn't win, but I love that he was nominated.
Who won that year?
That's a great question. Let me find out. I know Chris Cooper won supporting. I didn't. No, I don't. Chris Cooper won supporting for that movie. But was
he with the orchid guy?
Yes, he plays the subject of the original Orchid Thief novel.
Such a weird. I love how weird that fucking movie is.
That movie is so fucking weird. I do really love how weird it is too. I think it is fucking great.
There's nothing like it, man. Nothing like it.
You know who fucking wins that year?
Who?
Adrian Brody for The Piano.
Hey, okay. I mean,
or The Pianist. Sorry, The Pianist.
Well, Adrian Brody I think he's one of the best ones that we've got right now. He doesn't always choose what
You
most of us would
stan
consider.
Adrian Brody. You really
I think
do.
Adrian Brody he could do anything. He could do anything.
I think it's one of those instances of like a split card, because here's who else is fucking nominated that year.
Okay.
Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York.
Well, yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis for anything. Yeah, got it. Give him an Oscar.
Jack Nicholson for About Schmidt.
Okay.
Michael Caine for The Quiet American, which is probably the most performance on the list. And Nicolas Cage for Adaptation.
That's kind of stacked. Yeah, that's a tough decision for sure. Can we give them all an Oscar?
I think no, they all have Oscars. They all have Oscars.
Fantastic.
Daniel Day-Lewis has 3, Nicholson has 2, Caine has 1, and Cage has 1.
Well, here's the union busting, am I right?
There you go.
Yeah.
That's also the year that my girl Nicole Kidman wins for The Hours.
Oh. Wowzers.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that that's what she had won for. I knew she had an Oscar, but
yeah, because with Denzel was because he won the year before for Training Day, so he's presenting. Right. And when he opens the envelope, he yells, "Buy a nose," because she's wearing the prosthetic Virginia Woolf nose in that movie. Yeah. But yeah, there you go. And then Catherine Zeta-Jones wins Best Supporting Actress for Chicago.
Fair.
Chicago, also known as the one good Rob Marshall movie.
Richard Gere, man.
Richard Gere not nominated for Chicago.
Some people might not know this about me, but I'm a huge Richard Gere fan.
I did not know that about you.
And it's because there have been a few movies that he's been in that I like so much that he's so good in. You've got An Officer and a Gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
You seen that, Steven? You heard about this?
I've heard about it. I've never seen it.
You heard about?
I know.
Lovely to the where we belong.
I know Lou Gossett Jr. won an Oscar for that movie.
And then went right to B movie hell, which I'll never understand. Outside of Roots.
It's the fucking it's the Oscar curse, man.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to fucking Cuba Gooding Jr. I think it's worse for African American actors, but
probably Primal Fear is another one of his that he's in that I really, 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 really like him in it. And the final one being The Mothman Prophecies.
Oh, you do love The Mothman Prophecies.
But Officer and a Gentleman,
Lou Gossett Jr. died this year?
I did know that. I was very sad. And I watched Officer and a Gentleman twice that day.
Man, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
I love that guy. He's good, man.
Did you say you had seen Officer and a Gentleman? You said no.
I have not seen Officer and a Gentleman.
You should watch it sometime.
I'm sure I will at some point. It really becomes it's a question of when.
It's a really, really it's a movie about people, man. It's a movie about people. In the best possible way. Very, very much a human drama. More than Go get him!
There's a fucking human drama playing out right outside my window.
Wowzers, that's insane. Yeah, Officer and a Gentleman, okay. I recommend that to anyone who enjoys films from the 70s and early 80s that are human dramas. Blue-collar human dramas. Stuff like Norma Rae, but not about unions. Anyway, yeah. Richard Gere. My man.
Richard Gere.
My man.
Jr. My man.
Yeah. And the guy what plays the other guy, he's in a bunch of stuff too. Maybe he was in the Carrie TV movie as the cop. That guy was also in Officer and a Gentleman. Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know who you're talking about.
You guys, we have to talk about something different. I'm going to start crying because I'm thinking about the last scene of Officer and a Gentleman. Talk about something else, Steven. Quit. Quick. You're not. Why are you doing this to me? No.
So okay. So to get back to my earlier point,
yes, thank you.
The fact that the actor who plays Davy is Chuck Connors, but they wanted to kind of throw everyone off the scent, so they gave him the name Shiler Kobe. The origin of that name differs depending on who's telling it. Like the Wikipedia article says it was named after the middle names of 2 of Chuck Connors' kids. IMDb Trivia says it was named after the first and middle names of the son of the director.
Hmm.
So conflicting reports. I don't quite know what's up.
Well, here's the thing. You have to have sources for Wikipedia. You do not for IMDb.
That's true. Let me see if there is a source cited for that. Because it's an appendix. The source is David Schmoller's Tourist Trap Turns 37 Retro Review, an article for pophorror.com that is no longer extant. So I don't know how
Everyone's
well
favorite
researched that
website.
article would have been because
Yes.
it no longer exists.
Dude, yeah.
But like, yeah. Um, I don't know why you would have had to list the actor playing Davy in the credits at all. Unless, the fact that there's only one other man in this movie of any kind of imposing stature. So everyone would just assume it's Chuck Connors.
And credits for who? It's not like we had IMDb back then. It's not like people are looking it
Exactly.
up on the internet. It's just on the poster. You don't even have to put who anybody fucking plays. You just put motherfucking Chuck Connors, motherfucking that one gal, and that other gal. You don't have to put who they play.
I
I don't
mean,
understand why it's such a big deal. Why they even had to go to the trouble.
Shiler Kobe not even on the poster. The actors on the poster: Chuck Connors, biggest one, Jocelyn Jones, John Van Ness, Robin Sherwood, and Tanya Roberts, featuring Don Jeffrey and Keith McDermott. Doesn't
Well,
mention
so
Shiler Kobe at all.
when you see a movie, I don't know if I'm sure a lot of people know this in the audience, but when you see a movie, the credits they come after the movie. That's when you find out who played who. Usually, sometimes at the intro credits, like if it's like a special kind of guest star sort of thing, like and
Right.
David Bowie as this guy. You know what I mean? You might get one or two character names
And
depending.
Jerry Mathers as the Beaver, right?
Exactly. But normally that sort of stuff is revealed in the creditos, as they say
Correct.
in Yugoslavia. Um, so why would that even be a thing? Like, because once you've seen the film, you know the twist. So who gives a fuck?
Right.
I don't get it.
I don't know, man. I don't know,
That's
but
some
apparently
Charles
it was
Band level shit. Like everything that surrounds Charles Band is just the dumbest shit. Like
it
some
was just
stupid ass problems to have.
very important that they put that in there for some reason. I don't understand it. I never will. I
Focusing
don't
on the
need to.
wrong shit.
Exactly.
If you put half that energy into the script,
And that's what it is. Like, and I think the script is the thing that suffers here. Like, I mean, the version that we watched was not. It was supposed to have been remastered, but it did not look it.
that's the worst I've ever seen it. I used to have a DVD of it that looked better than that. I had a VHS of it that looked better than that, actually.
Right. Whereas it was so dark for me, I could barely see half of it, which sucked. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, I would have liked to have watched, this movie. Um,
Something, yes.
but a lot of it was just a lot of very shadowy figures that I could kind of make out pieces of. I realized why dolls and mannequins are so fucking creepy, though.
Oh yeah, some scary shit in this
It's that
movie.
uncanny valley, man. It's that fucking uncanny valley. Like, it's just, and particularly the more realistic they are, the more unnerving it is. And I think mannequins and dolls in particular, because they're so close, like the features and like having those very defined features is very important for a lot of those. I will be covering another Charles Band produced movie, Dolls, Stuart Gordon's Dolls, at some point as well,
I don't mind that one so
on
much.
this
I
podcast.
kind of excited to cover that one.
Yeah, we'll cover that one at some point. I've got a guest already in mind for that one.
Nice.
Someone
Should we
who
talk about? Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Someone who what, Steven? I'm curious. I need to know.
Someone who went viral for purchasing a doll.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Way into viral shit. I love the internet.
It may it never die.
The internet was a mistake. Should
No,
we
I
talk
agree.
about? Should we talk about how this movie is rated PG?
Yeah, let's please do, because that's the rare PG slasher movie.
Well, and look at this. It is PG, which means parental guidance suggested. The boy came into my room right after he covered that girl's face up with
Mm-hmm.
business, and he was choking that other dude.
Mm-hmm.
I, I, as suggested, I guided as a parent the boy
Mm-hmm.
out of my room.
Right. parentally
because this
guided
is
him from your room.
like, even I don't think it's really an excuse. Even it's before PG-13. This still, like, some of the violence in this and some of the implications. And I think back then they weren't considering what they now call thematic elements,
Right.
which this movie has a lot of. And this should
Oh
be
yeah.
even if PG-13 existed when this came out, it should be an R. And honestly, I agree with the director. I think it would have done better if it had an R.
I
Because in
agree. Yeah.
1979, you're like, oh, a slasher. This is a new thing. I remember Halloween. That barely had any blood in it. Rated R. This motherfucker's PG, and I'm supposed to,
Right.
like, want to see this? Nah, dude. Of course, I
Like
would
this
go for
movie
Chuck
has
Connors, but
this movie has the same rating as Old Yeller. No, thank you.
yeah. Speak of the devil.
Right. Speaking of the devil, Chuck Connors. Actually, Old Yeller was it was just simply rated approved.
G. Oh, it's approved. A code approved, yeah.
Yeah, code
for
approved,
the MPA.
yeah. Right. But like, yeah, it kind of
dog in the West.
rated the same as Soylent Green, which was set in that far-flung year of 2022.
Steven, isn't Soylent Green people?
You know, I've
it's
heard that.
people.
I have it on good authority that Soylent Green is in fact people.
That's what I've heard.
I mean, many people are saying this.
I don't feel like I can confirm or deny it because I don't get down with that shit, but like I've heard it's people. I'm just saying.
Hey, Tucker, you know it's a really fucking good movie? Soylent Green.
I could name several. Okay, I could name several. Like, where are we going with this?
Fucking Soylent Green. Great movie.
Yeah. Charlton Heston, right?
Charlton Heston, Edward G. Robinson, Chuck Connors, Joseph motherfucking Cotton, Brock motherfucking Peters. I fucking love Brock Peters. Yes. Like just an unbelievable cast. Like really Dick Van Patten, an early Dick Van Patten role.
Okay.
Like 1973 Dick Patton or Dick Van Patten. Yeah. But like just it's one of those great like dystopian future, like post Planet of the Apes dystopian future movies that I fucking love.
Wow.
Like fun genre. Love the genre.
Hey Steven, what was the thing that maybe before we started recording you were like, "Oh, you should mention that during the recording and see if anybody else know." Oh,
the quality of the quality of the transfer, yeah.
Hey audience, hey people listening to this right now. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Have you seen the Shout Factory, the Scream Factory, whatever they call it, Blu-ray of this film? Does it look good? Does it look like it's been smeared with Vaseline? When you watch it upscaled into 4K, is it dark as shit? I need to know these things. So if you have any experience with I think it was 2021 when Shout put out a Blu-ray of this.
I'm looking it up now.
Let me know, please, if you've seen it. Let me know because I love this movie, and my DVD, I borrowed it to somebody a long time ago, and they never gave it back, like you do. So many lost physical pieces of physical media, borrowing shit to people. All of my Criterion DVDs, except for Man Who Fell to Earth, borrowed, never came back. That's probably about 11 DVDs.
That sucks, dude. I'm very sorry to hear that.
I don't borrow out my Blu-rays or my 4Ks. Of course, nobody has physical players anymore. Like, even Marv, I'm like, hey, let me give you this. And he's like, I have nothing that takes a disc. Okay. All right.
That hurts my heart.
It does. It's sad. It's sad times.
I was visiting my partner's parents last night, and they were like, "You've got a VHS player, right?" I was like, "No." They're like, "Oh, we were going to give you all of these VHSs."
Hey, hi. I'll take them. Steven, tell them you want them, and then just give them to me.
Okay.
What are they? What kind of shit is it?
It's varied. While the last
Green
VHS,
Tomatoes.
The last VHS they gave me was The Gate 2.
Surprisingly, I like your partner's parents.
The Gate 2 was one of it was a movie that she grew up with. Because she watched a lot of like horror on like
That is a
Yeah.
pull.
Like the late night horror shit that would like run
Yes.
on like basic.
USA Network, up all night, dude. Up all
Not even
night.
that, but like the stuff that would run on like network TV, like the horror host
Mhm.
shit, like with
Mhm.
Svengoolie and all of that.
And Sammy
Like,
Terry.
yeah. Well, Sammy Terry for you and I.
Sam B. Terry.
Sure, because you're doing the thing where you put B's into words
What are you
unnecessarily.
talking about? I don't know what you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about.
Yeah, I almost did a play with Sammy Terry, the actor who played the original Sammy Terry once.
His son does it now,
Yeah,
you know.
but
And
I
that
was
actually
doing
happened
a
before he died. He
yes,
trained him and like
yeah.
to do it.
I
They're both
was
I've met
doing
them both. They're great. They're both great.
I was doing a church musical at a church I did not go to,
Oh,
but
he was a religious man.
he was very much
You
so,
might not know Sammy Terry, religious man. Also,
very
he owned
religious. Yeah.
the fucking music store that all the schools got their band instruments from in Indianapolis.
Oh, okay. That
You know, I
makes a lot
can't
of
remember what it's
sense.
called, but you know what I'm talking about, that
I know
one where
exactly which
all
one
the
you're
band
talking about.
instruments came from.
They all did, yeah. Um,
Uh,
I
he owned that
want to say
store.
it starts with a J, but I don't think that's right. Doesn't
Uh,
matter. But like, and he was usually did those musicals, except he wasn't able to do this one because he like had just gotten very sick. Like he had just started to get sick when that happened, and so he was out. But yeah, I still did the musical, and it was a thing. It was a thing I did.
he hung in there though.
He did for many
Like
like
he
you.
was
He did not pass away shortly thereafter. Like he kept kicking for several years thereafter, but that was like when he first got really sick.
Now we're talking about Bob Carter. That's his real
Yes.
name. He died in 2013. He was 83 years old.
Yeah. The actor who played Sammy Terry, who was the horror host in Indianapolis, Indiana, where Tucker and I and our
On
co-host
Channel
Brett
4.
Wright all grew up. Yes.
Also home to Cowboy Bob.
Cowboy Bob. It must be attention must be paid to Cowboy Bob.
Attention needs to be paid to Cowboy Bob because
Who
that
was
was another.
old when I was a kid.
Boy, I love Cowboy Bob, man. That was my shit back in the day. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh, Cowboy Bob.
But yeah, man, Tourist Trap. This, I mean, again, I think it's fine for what it is, but nothing in it really like grabbed me in Tourist Trap. Like I was never really like, oh yeah, Tourist Trap. God, yeah, this fucking rules. Like I was kind of like, okay. And like I said, Chuck Connors, best part of the movie. Like the closest I got to being really engaged was the Chuck Connors of it all. But by and large, I was not like sucked into this movie, you know?
Well, no, I'm not either. This is definitely a movie that you can reap all the benefits of it while still being on your phone the entire time.
Yeah.
But I will say it is the reason that I like it. It is a very standard slasher. It's not a bad movie. It's not a bad slasher. Very middle of the road. But there are a few things that elevate it for me. One is Chuck Connors.
Mm-hmm.
Another are the special effects. The way that they got all that shit to fly at that dude at the beginning,
That is kind of cool.
much like Nightmare on Elm Street, they had a spinning room. Well, they didn't have a spinning room. I think they just kind of like put stuff on the wall and like
Yeah.
basically the way it was shot is not the actual perspective of what was happening.
Right.
Gravity was working in those scenes, is what I'm trying to tell you. It was all
Yes.
gravity. And I find that kind of shit very clever. I thought the effects were very creepy. I thought the mask that Chuck Connors wore was very unsettling. There's so many just casually unsettling things in this film visually.
My Letterboxd review basically says that this is Wax, a House of Wax by way of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Same production designer, by the way.
It shows, particularly in the design of the mask. Like
he also did House. I'm sorry, fucking Hills Have Eyes. I recently learned that. Same guy. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hills Have Eyes, Tourist Trap. Sorry, Steven, go on. I apologize.
No, makes sense. Apparently the cast was took to calling the villain in this Plasterface as an homage to Leatherface.
Yeah,
was a thing that they did just to kind of but yeah, I mean, like particularly when he starts wearing the wigs, it very similar to
That's
Leatherface
Leatherface. Yeah.
wearing the wig, like the mother costume
Mm-hmm.
in Texas Chainsaw. Like it's very much of that kind of ilk. So,
Agreed.
like, but it's like, let's take this kind of cheesy William Castle horror film from the 50s and let's just infuse it with like a healthy dash of this proto slasher that came out several years ago. And that's essentially the soup. Like, and I think there are elements of it that work very well. I love that opening scene. The opening scene is very well done,
It's really
very
good.
well executed.
It
And it
looks
gives
great too.
you,
There's some really creative shots there, even before like all the action starts happening.
yeah.
There's some really fun shots.
And then but then, you know, the movie itself starts in earnest. And I mean, at the end of the day, it was fine. Like I was like, this isn't bad. It's not great. It's not life changing. It's not going to be my favorite slasher movie, but for what it is and for when it came out, it's fine.
Yeah.
Is kind of where I fall on it.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Tourist Trap comes out on March 16th, 1979. And as with most movies that came out before 1980, I don't have a lot of information on this one. The big new release this week was an MGM film called Voices, starring Michael Ontkeen from Twin Peaks.
Oh, who he in Twin Peaks?
Harry Truman, the sheriff.
Man. He's
Yeah.
fun.
Your girl Amy Irving
Oh yeah.
from Carrie and the Rage Carrie 2.
Yeah.
And our collective boy Alex Rocco from Friends of Eddie Coyle, amongst many other things.
Yeah. Dude,
love that guy. Fucking love that guy. In a film directed by Robert Merowitz. Yeah, I know nothing about the movie Voices. That was the big release. In fact, we have no box office information for this movie whatsoever. When I look on the numbers, it gives me the domestic box office as not applicable.
If I may, from what I researched,
you may.
It seems like this film flopped pretty hard at the box office. But whereas its PG rating may have killed it at the box office, it made it very easy to show on television.
Right.
So it made its money back and more, so much more, on cable television, man, in the 80s and the 90s.
Which is how it eventually does find an audience, which is how
That's
a lot
how
of
it
these
found
movies
me.
survive.
That's we never did our history with this film, but if I could just pop it in real quick.
Do it.
I saw this on either Joe Bob Briggs or USA Up All Night, one of those two. I saw this on one of those two programs, and it was kind of a time and a place sort of thing. It's like 2 a.m. and you're watching this and you're like 15 years old. Like it's the perfect storm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was actually the first DVD I ever rented from Netflix back when Netflix was a DVD mailing service.
Yeah.
This is the first one. I was like, oh, I want to see this in widescreen. Because I'd never seen it in its original aspect ratio. And I was like,
right.
Get that mother. Because I own it on VHS. I don't need to buy it.
Right.
But I do want to get that. Look at that DVD. Let's look at it. Yeah. Oh, they're coming back. They sound sad. Must not have been successful. Oh, now they're excited.
Apparently everyone's having an emergency on the north side of Chicago tonight.
Daddy was an EMT on the north side of Chicago.
Back in the USA. Back in the bad old day.
Yeah, dude.
In the cool of an autumn night. Yeah, that's an earworm for Tucker and I. Were we recording when we did that last time?
I don't remember.
I don't remember if we were or not, but we did like a lot of The Night Chicago Died. Paper Lace, The Night Chicago Died, for the uninitiated. Go check it out. It's a fucking great. It's a bop.
Such a good song. Also, if you can find the There's a Spanish language version. I don't remember who does it, but there is a very popular, like, if you look up The Night Chicago Died in Spanish, you're probably going to find the one I'm talking about. My friend Alex, who actually lives in Chicago, she showed me that a long time ago, as she is of Mexican descent. So
Oh, I
she was privy
want
to it.
it. I
And
want
it
it.
was fantastic.
Covers in 1970. Oh shit! There's a few of them. In 1974, Venezuelan singer Mirla Castellanos recorded her version of the song,
It
translated
was
into Spanish
dudes.
by her husband.
It
Okay,
was
so
dudes.
also in 1974, Mexican group La Super Banda Macho recorded their own version titled La Noche que Murió Chicago, whose lyrics are very different from the previous version.
Because
So
I don't know if
that's
you know this,
probably the
Steven,
one.
but there are so many people of Mexican descent in Chicago that they have their
I'm aware.
own. There's like a whole like Chinatown, but it's
Mhm.
like for Latino peoples.
There are two fucking incredible Mexican restaurants within walking distance of my apartment, and they are the two closest restaurants to my apartment.
The best Mexican food I've ever had has been in Chicago. For sure.
I
For sure.
literally, there are days when my lunch break hits and I'm just like, I'm gonna go get some tacos, and I'll just walk across the street, grab some tacos, walk back up to my apartment, and eat the tacos on my couch while watching TikToks. Like that's my lunch break.
I gotta say, I used to love that neighborhood too. My friend Alex lived in a very Latino prevalent. Did I say prevalent? That's
You
not even a
did.
word. Prevalent
It's not.
neighborhood, and I really loved that neighborhood. Just had a really good vibe. I had a lot of fun there. Everybody was very accepting. Yeah.
Do you remember which neighborhood it was?
I remember that there were a lot of like small 2-story houses all kind of stacked one next to each other. I don't remember what side of town it was on.
I mean, that sounds like a lot of neighborhoods in
Yeah, that's
Chicago,
every neighborhood in Chicago.
unfortunately.
I know. Even the suburbs. Sometimes you'll get those little neighborhoods. Like,
Correct.
the last stop on the L is like on the
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, pick your last stop on the L, honestly, because there's a few.
hmm
L do go for a ways
It'd be going further than most people riggedy realize. Is what I'm
in
saying.
in every direction.
It do be
Yes.
popping into the suburbs. Like, hey, what's up?
Oh, it do. Oh, it do.
MTA, we
I
love you.
yes, CTA because Chicago.
Oh yeah, because we're not in New York. You're right.
Nope.
Okay.
CTA, we love and hate you in equal measure.
Look, I just love public transportation.
You do.
I truly
I
do.
will say this movie, according to Wikipedia, is budgeted at $350,000, and even at that was considered a box office disappointment. If that tells you anything,
Well, and in '79, that's for this kind of movie. That's not a terrible budget. That's not a great budget, but that's not like low budget for a movie like this. I don't feel like.
right? Let
I know it's
me
under a
find our
million, but
inflation calculator here.
did you save it when I sent it to you?
Of course, I did.
Damn right you did.
Damn right, I did. But yeah, so let's do in 1979. 350,000
Yeah, dude. In Dos Days money.
is going to be about 11.1 million dollars.
That seems like a lot, actually,
Right,
for a movie like this today.
right,
Because it's Charles Band, so like it's low budget fare.
right.
Like that's what it's designed to be.
I I kind
It'd
of
be like a
I kind
$5
of
million picture now. I feel like
right.
$3 to $5 million.
Yeah, the dollar wouldn't stretch as far,
Mm-mm.
or would stretch further. I'm not really sure which. One of those is correct, and I don't care to interrogate which one. But yeah, movie comes out March 16th, 1979. I have no additional box office information. But I can tell you the tomatometer score, which is 40%. 40% on this one. There is not
That's
really
fair.
a critic's consensus on this one. That does seem a little low.
Yeah.
There is no Metascore because there have not been 4 critic reviews for this movie yet. So there is not the user score though is there's been 9 user ratings and that's a 6.4 out of 10.
That seems more
Generally
like it.
favorable.
Yeah.
And Tucker, you want to take a stab at the Letterboxd review or the Letterboxd score on this one?
This is a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna
They're
throw me
all
for a
weird.
loop. I'm gonna say between 2.3 and 2.7.
3.1.
Letterbox surprising me. Okay.
There you go.
Though you always bet
3.1.
on a 3. It's always 3 something.
I mean, that's a safe bet for most Letterboxd, honestly.
Yeah, I was getting cocky. That's my bad.
It's fine. You're okay. So Tucker, out of 5 stars, how are you rating 1979's Tourist Trap?
Well, I'm kind of torn on it because I know that it's not great. But
Right.
the things that I love about this movie, I love them so much that it carries me through the things that I don't particularly care for to make it a solid 3. I mean, I feel like I'm giving it too much credit, but this is a comfort movie for me, and I don't
Right.
really watch it. I don't really watch it. It's on, and I'll do other things while it's on. I just like having it on.
Sure. That tracks.
Yeah,
I mean, it's 2.5 for me.
that's more than fair. I feel like.
Right. It's again, it's nothing super like that this just, blowing my mind or blowing me out of the water with this one, but it's just, it's a decent film. It's not even remarkable for the time. Like I would say Halloween remarkable for the time. I would say not quite remarkable, but just like solid and good for the time. Something like My Bloody Valentine in 81.
Yeah.
Again, kind of elevating that a little higher. But this isn't doing anything really special, but it's still just, it is what it is, unabashedly, unashamedly, and that's fine.
It's
Like it doesn't
unique.
need to be anything else. Yeah.
It is unique. In
I'm
and
kind
and
of
around
surprised.
that time, it kind of starts when it's coming out. That starts the Halloween clones, and this doesn't feel
Right.
like a Halloween clone.
It's not.
That's
And I
what's great
think
about it.
that is what's great about it. I think that's what's unique about it is so many other people were copying the Halloween formula a little too closely in some cases.
Hmm.
Whereas this is just it's doing something similar in a way that still manages to feel very different.
Like this movie doesn't exist without Halloween, but it's not like Halloween at all.
Right. Right. And I mean, that's 100% it. And I feel like this movie could have very easily become a franchise where you get, the Plasterface or the Plasterface family. I beg your pardon.
Hey.
Plasterface or the Plasterface family, like maybe he's got long lost kids or his brother Davy and his wife weren't actually dead. They just ran off together and he
Hey, as long as it's good, make it as absurd as you want.
and
I don't
that
give
but
a
that's
fuck.
that's the thing that these slasher kind of franchises did in the
Yeah.
in the late 70s, particularly the early 80s, right?
For good or ill.
For good or ill, mostly ill,
Yeah,
let's be
mostly.
honest. But that's kind of the thing that they did, and you can easily see, even though your villain dies at the end, what slasher movie does the villain not die at the end and still manages to come back every fucking time? Like that's not a
True.
deterrent for these
Plus, he's
movies,
got powers, dude.
right?
So
You
that
know,
makes it even more believable that he might come back.
we got a sequel to Carrie. We could get a sequel to this.
Oh, I love that movie.
You do. We talked about it on our Patreon. Patreon.com/disenfranchpod. Episode of Unenfranchised on the Rage Carrie 2. We actually covered
Yes.
that. Was that last Spooky-thon? Or no, that was during our Stephen
It
King
was
month back in January.
January. Yeah,
Yes.
we talked about old Emily Burgle and whichever
Mm-hmm.
London boy that is, and Randy from Home Improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
sure did. No, that was
Boy, I
Brad
like that
from Home
movie.
Improvement.
Same thing.
No, Randy was
Boy.
JTT.
Ooh, okay. Boy, I do love that movie though. They
You
do,
do.
dude. They do Sue Snell dirty in that movie, but outside of that,
They really do.
boy, I love that movie.
But yeah,
Anyway,
that is our episode on 1979's Tourist Trap. It's on Amazon Prime, it's on Tubi, it's on Freevee. Like, you can watch it free with ads pretty much everywhere. Check it out. Let us know what you think. You can head on over to patreon.com/disenfranchised and join the official live chat of the Disenfranchised podcast. We actually did get a new free member this week.
nice.
Who joined just to follow the conversation. So
Yeah.
you can absolutely do that too. That is totally allowed. And if you want to know, like, if you want to see what else we're covering this month, we've already revealed, our patrons already know. And you could know too if you really wanted to. Head on over there, check that out. And then, for $5, we'll let you know the rest of what we're covering this month. We also last week we recorded an episode of What Are We Watching?
The first one since May. May
The first one
28th was
since
our
May.
last drop before
It's-
the other episodes I put out.
It's the one I call Oops All Tucker.
It's me,
because
baby.
Tucker did not let us talk. And that episode is still 2 hours long.
How could I?
Here's the thing. I watched more than you did, but I will not talk about it for as long as you did.
That's wild because I find that I feel like we have longer conversations during your list than anyone's lists.
That's because you're interrupting.
Well, because I like this kind of shit that you watch, man. Like, I've either already seen it and I'm way into it, or I'm intrigued and like, what the fuck is that, Steven?
Right.
Tell me about that.
I've watched a lot since May.
I'm excited. You might have to have your own episode. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm not going to do my. I will share episode 50 with Brett, and I will let Brett go first, and I'll take the rest of the episode if I have to. But
well, see, I don't like that idea because, like I said, I'm very interested in your lists most of the time. So because of me, it takes a lot of time. So I'd rather you go first. So in case that goes long,
but here's the thing.
First, that's a solid 45 minutes, and then you pop in, and I can't help myself, and then we're here for another 3 hours. I don't want that.
Well, then you're just gonna have to get creative with the editing.
Son of a bitch.
Your favorite thing, getting creative with the editing.
You know what I was thinking today, Steven? I was thinking that if I were either independently wealthy or I was supported by money that we made from this podcast, if I spent all week on this show as a job, because so I love the opening theme to the Rifleman. It's very short. It's just it's bam 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 bam. The Rifleman, music swell, starring Chuck Connors, and then right into it. It's very right to the point. Love that. I wanted to put that like when I mentioned it, like in podcasts that have professionals who get paid to work on them all week do.
Right.
When I mentioned it, the clip would come in. The audio clip would come in.
That'd be cool.
And I was like, I could do that if I had like if this podcast were supporting me, and I could spend all week doing that. I could make this like the coolest fucking thing in the world. And it got me to thinking again about maybe trying to, do some gig work as a podcast editor. See if somebody does pay me for my time and I can spend a lot of time doing it. See how that comes out. Because I think I got the skills, Steven. I got the skills. And I got the ideas. And I got the patience. Yeah. Anyway.
Would that this podcast supported us all. Unfortunately, we're not big enough. And yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Well, in the winter, I have a lot more time. So I might see if I can, just to maybe get a portfolio going. So maybe I can make some money doing some editing. I might jazz up some Disenfranchised episodes as much as I can. Because, I still have responsibilities during the winter. I just don't work my 9 to 5. But motherfucker, I got kids.
You do?
So.
Motherfuckers got kids? Peter Pan's got kids?
You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, I apologize for that interruption. It was just kind of a thing I was thinking about today. And I was like, man, I could really do some really cool stuff and make this, like, fancy and shit. And I would love to. If I had the time, this would be the fanciest thing you've ever heard in your life.
I believe it. I mean, it's already leaps and bounds better than it was prior to your taking over. So,
as much as I don't like to pat myself on the back, I agree with you.
I mean, it cannot be denied, and that's
As
no
a
slight to
former
Brett.
fan.
Brett was doing the best he could.
Yeah.
No slight
absolutely.
to Brett. We love Brett. To this
He's-
day, we still love Brett. He is still part of the family, but
Look, the
he
only
will admit
reason
that it has
Well,
gotten
yeah.
better.
And the only reason that I know how to do any of this shit is I've been recording music on computers and editing and mixing and mastering and shit
Right.
for 25 fucking years. I'm not good
Exactly.
at it, but I'm good enough to make a bomb ass podcast if you give me the time.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude.
dude.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Dude. Yeah.
Anyway, go to our Patreon and give us $5 or don't.
Or don't. You can join for free and still be a part of the conversation. Tucker and I will still interact with you.
Every time.
Not Brett, but that's only because Brett's not on the Patreon. But Tucker and I are, and we will. So there you go. You can also give us a rating on your podcatcher of choice, particularly if that is Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That helps us find more listeners like yourselves, and we like that for us. I mean, maybe if we find enough, we can support ourselves on this podcast and devote all of our time to doing it for you. Think about how much content there would be behind that paywall if we had the time to do that.
How many copyright strikes we get on YouTube. Oh.
Right? Oh my gosh, so many.
Yep.
Have we are we monetized on YouTube? We could monetize, right?
No. Well, there's Steven, a lot of things go into making money on YouTube. It's not just people watching your videos. Not only do you have to have so many subscribers and so many views, but you have to constantly upload shorts that get a ton of views. I don't have time for that shit. YouTube can suck my balls.
I don't think they want to, but I'm sure they're happy that they have the invitation.
I would rather try to grow the podcast in a way that attracts sponsors as opposed to trying to monetize on YouTube, because monetizing on YouTube, unless you're like the biggest podcast in the world or a content creator that has like over 100,000 subscribers, you ain't doing shit on YouTube.
Fair.
You ain't doing a motherfucking thing on YouTube.
That's fair.
Now, when they pay, they pay. But boy, getting there is
not fun.
No. And you feel used and taken for granted because, they're still playing ads on our shit, Steven. They're still playing ads on our shit.
Oh, I know.
But because we don't have so many views, or we don't have so many subscribers, or because we don't do shorts that are engaged with so many times, and we don't do community posts that have a certain amount of engagement, we don't get shit.
And that's stuff we could do if we had more time to do it. But
that's true.
But we just covered the fact that we don't have the time.
Yeah, we don't.
So there you go. But yeah, what else was I saying? Oh yeah. disenfranchisepod@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. Let us know if there's a failed franchise starter that we have not covered yet in our 200 episodes that you would like to see us cover. There are a lot. Throw one out at us.
If you're old school like that, send us an email. Is what we're saying.
Yeah. And you know what? We've gotten emails and we've read them on the podcast before. So,
I appreciate a good email for sure.
Absolutely. We haven't gotten any lately, but another thing we haven't gotten lately are those ratings and reviews. We haven't gotten one of those in a while, and we'll read them when we get them. But
I feel like we've plateaued. We found our audience, Steven.
Our
audience of like 115 people a month, which honestly, that's more people than I ever thought wanted to hear me bullshit for an hour and a half, 2 hours. So
correct.
I'm happy with it.
More people than I ever expected to want to be in a parasocial relationship with me, so I'll take it. People want to be in a parasocial relationship with me? Really?
What?
I feel special. Is this what fame is like? No,
it's not. Love? Do you love me?
It feels like love.
Are you my dad? Are you proud of me? Tell me you're proud of me, audience. Tell me you're proud. I'll be 42 years old in like 2 weeks. Tell me you're proud. This is all I've done with my life.
Just tell him he's proud. Just tell him you're proud. You don't even have to be. Just tell him you are.
Yeah.
Oh God. We have fun. We have
do.
fun. I don't even know
We're
where the
friends.
fuck I am. Oh yeah, we're at
Email.
Disenfranchised Pod on various forms of social media. If you want to find us there, sometimes I update them. Most of the time, I don't. Um, such is life as it goes. And yeah, that's what we've got. You can find me, your host Stephen Foxworthy, on some social media at Chewy Walrus. Buy my book, Check In, Check Out, on Amazon on paperback or Kindle, or just those two formats really. And yeah, Tucker, where can we find you on socials these days?
Hi, it's me, Tucker, and you can find me on Instagram and on YouTube, as always, at Ice909. That's ICENINE, the number 0, and the number 9. Also, we've got Tuck Mugs still. Tuck Mugs will never die. Tuck underscore mugs. Also on Instagram. We put up a new post a couple weeks ago. It's pretty rad. It's pretty rad. It is a post of Jimmy's guest mug that was featured heavily in his music video that he put out a couple months ago. That's really good. Also, speaking of, he's got a new single that's going to be dropping here, maybe by the time this episode comes out, maybe a few
Ooh,
days after, called Ghost in the Feel. That's a song we worked together on in the Dismantelopes that he is repurposing as a solo song. And
nice.
I have been I wouldn't say I've been a part of the making of it as far as like contributing to it, but every draft that he's done, every rough draft, every rough mix that he's done, every rough recording he has sent to me and asked my thoughts on, because like I said, it is a song that we worked on together back in the day. So I'm pretty excited for that to come out. It's a good one. If you like his previous stuff, you'll like it. So check that out at Graham Voodoo Band on all the social medias. I'm just gonna start plugging Jimmy every show, because even
You
though he's
pretty
not a
much
part
have been,
of
yeah.
the podcast, like he's every What Are We Watching episode. He does the theme to that, right?
And every straight up.
He does the theme to every straight up, which I can't wait to go in and re-edit with the new theme. Um, yeah. So if you like those themes, also Jimmy's been on here and like we played his songs after
Yeah.
the credits and everything. So if you're
He's
into
been on
any of
he's
that
been on
shit,
2 episodes of this podcast so far. Go
check
listen to
out his
those.
shit. Look, it's on all your music streaming services. Just look up Grand Voodoo Dan. Grand Voodoo Dan. Hi, I'm Grand Voodoo Dan. Daniel from the Grand Voodoos. No, Grand Voodoo Band on anything. He's on Bandcamp, all the music streaming services. Just check it out, because that's my boy. And we are friends and frequent collaborators. And Tuck Mugs is why I brought that up. But check out Tuck Mugs. I will once again, Stephen, ask you to somehow get me into contact with Kat for her very legally binding agreement that she made to do a guest mug on Tuck Mugs. If you could forward that to the social media manager and have him get a hold of her for that, I'd really appreciate it. And that's my socials.
And speaking of friends of ours who are not on this episode, Brett Wright is, I think he Instagram sometimes, but mostly Letterboxd at sus_warlock. So there you go. That's us. That's the podcast. Next week, Spooky-thon week 3. And it's one that we teased we were going to do earlier this year and weren't able to because life found a way. And so we're revisiting it. We're coming back to it and we're going to talk about it. It's one that we had previously said we would never cover, and that went right out the window. So we're covering it. It's going to happen.
Way
And
into
it's
it.
going to happen next week. Tucker is way into it.
Another
Brett
film
was
I love.
Brett was also weirdly into it when I brought it up several months ago when we were initially tossing it around.
You know what one of my favorite parts about that movie is, Steven, without naming the film?
What's that?
Is not in it.
You're going to beep that too, aren't you?
No, I'm
No?
not, because no one
Okay.
knows the context of that except for you.
I mean, I do, but yeah. But I don't, yeah. But there you go. You should still beep it anyway, just for the fun of it. But yeah.
Maybe. Straight up maybe.
Straight up maybe.
I do like beeping things.
You really do.
It's like
It's
a
one of
hobby
your
of mine.
right.
It's like I can't make this super fantastic, so at least I can beep some stuff out for fun
Mm-hmm.
and not waste too much time.
Right. But anyway, if he didn't beep it, if Dad didn't spoil it for you, tune in next week and we'll talk about it in depth here on this podcast. So this has been the Disenfranchised episode on Tourist Trap. So until next time, I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy, for Brett Wright and Tucker. Until next time, you should have bought a squirrel.